It's a chilling statistic. In 2023, the average age of transgender homicide victims was just 28 years old.
Yeah.
That's the same age as Lonnie Okuru,
Wow.
when she was found murdered on a farm outside Farmington, Oregon back in 2001.
Oh, wow.
24 years later, her case still haunts investigators.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight, we're going to try to unpack why.
Yeah, this is a good one.
What's so fascinating about Lonnie's case?
Well, what's fascinating about Lonnie's case is that it's full of twists and turns, conflicting accounts,
Yeah.
and potential leads that just seem to evaporate.
Right.
It's a true mystery that digs deep into the complexities of identity,
Mm-hmm.
prejudice, and the limitations of forensic science back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's almost like stepping back in time, isn't it?
It is.
Let's start with that fateful morning of August 26, 2001.
Okay.
Picture a quiet farm.
Okay.
The sun just starting to rise.
Mm-hmm.
A 16-year-old girl is out for her usual jog,
Okay.
enjoying the peacefulness of the countryside.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, she spots something near the trees. At first, she thinks it's someone sleeping,
Uh-huh.
but as she gets closer, the horrifying reality becomes clear.
Oh, no.
It's not a sleeping person, but the body of a woman brutally beaten with severe injuries to her face.
Ugh. God.
There's blood everywhere
Wow.
and no sign of a struggle.
Jeez.
It's a scene that would shake even the most seasoned investigator.
I bet. Yeah.
And to make matters worse, there's nothing on the body to identify her.
Oh, wow.
No purse, no wallet, no ID.
Oh, jeez.
Just a $50 bill tucked in her pocket.
Interesting.
It's a detail that will come back to haunt the investigation later on.
I bet, yeah, that $50 bill becomes a focal point.
Yeah.
It raises so many questions.
Fine.
Was she robbed?
Right.
Or was someone trying to make it look like a robbery gone wrong?
It's a puzzle.
It is.
And those early days of the investigation were all about putting the pieces together.
I see.
Thankfully, they were able to use fingerprint analysis to eventually identify the victim as 28-year-old Lonnie Okuru. But even that identification opened up a whole new layer of complexity to the case.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, Lonnie was a transgender woman.
Okay.
She preferred she/her pronouns.
Okay.
But sadly, many reports and even official documents misgendered her.
Yeah, I can see how that would happen.
This was 2001, and understanding of transgender issues was far less prevalent than it is today.
Yeah, definitely.
That misgendering might seem like a small detail, but it speaks volumes about the societal biases that were at play.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
It's a reminder that justice isn't just about finding the perpetrator, it's also about respecting the dignity and identity of the victim.
Absolutely.
And as the investigation progressed,
Yeah.
piecing together Lonnie's final hours became crucial.
Yeah, makes sense.
They knew she had left her cousin's house very early that morning,
Okay.
sometime between 1:40 and 1:45 a.m.
Okay.
But after that, it becomes a bit of a blur.
Oh, really?
There are whispers and rumors about Lonnie being seen at various bars that night,
Well, okay.
but nothing concrete. Then there's the confirmed sighting at a 7-Eleven at 2:07 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Surveillance footage shows her buying gum and cigarettes,
Okay.
even chatting casually with another woman.
Mm-hmm.
She seems to be in good spirits.
The 7-Eleven encounter is intriguing.
Yeah.
Was she meeting someone there?
Right.
Or just running a late-night errand?
Yeah.
And why, with the $50 bill in her pocket, would she decline a taxi ride later that morning? That
Right.
just doesn't add up.
You'd think if she needed to get somewhere and had the money, she'd take the cab.
Exactly.
Unless she was planning on meeting someone she trusted, someone who's going to drive her.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
It's those seemingly insignificant details that often hold the biggest clues in cases like this.
That's true. Yeah.
And then just a couple of hours later, we have the last known sighting of Lonnie alive.
Oh, really?
This is where the story takes another turn.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's around 3:30 a.m., and Lonnie flags down a police officer
Who's this officer?
while walking along a busy highway. She's asking for a ride home,
Okay.
but her directions are a little confusing.
Mm.
It's possible there was a miscommunication about where she wanted to go.
Okay.
The officer, unable to provide a ride, leaves her walking in the general direction of her home.
I see.
It's almost unimaginable. Here she is, just hours before she's found murdered,
Yeah,
interacting with the very people who are supposed to protect her.
right.
And it all seems so ordinary.
Yeah, that's what makes this case so chilling.
Yeah.
Lonnie doesn't appear to be in any immediate danger during this encounter.
Right.
She's not distressed, not visibly upset.
Mm.
Whatever happened to her likely took place in the hours immediately following this interaction with the police.
So we have this window, this gap in time,
Yeah.
where her movements are completely unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And it's within that window, somewhere between 3:30 a.m. and when her body is found,
Okay.
that the tragedy unfolds.
Wow. It's that unknown period that investigators really focused on, you know?
Right.
Like, who did Lonnie encounter during those crucial hours? Was it someone she knew or a complete stranger? The answers, if they exist,
Right.
likely lie within that time frame.
And as the investigation got underway, tips started coming in.
Okay.
One name in particular kept popping up.
What's that?
DG.
DG. Okay.
Now, DG was already known to the police.
Uh-huh.
He had a history of drug offenses
Okay.
and had made racist and homophobic remarks in the past.
Oh, wow.
Some witnesses reported overhearing DG bragging about killing someone.
Okay.
And they believed, based on the language he used, that the victim was a member of the LGBTQ+ community. So they had a possible suspect with a history of violence and prejudice,
Yeah.
and who may have been connected to Lonnie through the local drug scene. It seemed like they were onto something.
Yeah, well, and there was another potential link.
Okay.
Remember the neighbor who reported seeing a dark SUV near the crime scene?
Yeah.
Well, it turned out that DG was driving a borrowed SUV that matched the description around the same time.
So it seemed like the pieces were starting to fall into place.
Yeah.
Did they find anything in the SUV?
So the police located the SUV and searched it thoroughly.
Okay.
Inside the car,
Uh-huh.
they found hateful messages scrawled on various surfaces,
Okay.
which seemed to corroborate the witness statements about DG's character.
Right.
However, despite their efforts,
Yeah.
they couldn't find any physical evidence that directly linked the vehicle to Lonnie or the crime scene.
Well, so close yet so far.
It is, yeah.
Did they bring DG in for questioning?
They did. DG denied any involvement in Lonnie's murder.
Okay.
He claimed he was just running his mouth
Okay.
and that his words shouldn't be taken seriously. However, he agreed to a polygraph test, which he failed,
Okay.
showing deception when asked specific questions about Lonnie and the night of her death.
A failed polygraph test is pretty damning,
It is.
but I'm guessing it still wasn't enough to charge him.
Unfortunately, you're right.
Yeah.
A polygraph isn't admissible in court on its own. Despite the failed test and the circumstantial evidence,
Yeah.
the police simply didn't have the concrete proof they needed
Right.
to connect DG directly to the murder.
Yeah.
They continued to investigate him,
Okay.
but nothing substantial emerged.
What about those items found in Lonnie's pockets?
Okay.
The partial cigarette, the foil, and the acorn.
Yeah.
Could those have been connected to DG or someone else involved in the drug trade?
That was certainly a line of inquiry, but lab tests on the items revealed that they weren't drug-related.
Okay.
It seemed they were just random bits of debris,
Okay.
adding another layer of frustration to an already complex investigation.
So the DG lead went cold. What happened next?
About a year later, in 2003, a new tip surfaced,
Okay.
this time from a rather unexpected source.
Oh.
A prison inmate.
Oh, wow.
He claimed to have overheard a fellow inmate, JD,
Okay.
confessing to helping his friend BJ dispose of Lonnie's body.
A jailhouse confession.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a twist.
It is.
It must have thrown a wrench into the investigation.
It did.
Yeah.
This new information introduced two new suspects,
Right.
and the investigators had to determine if this tip was credible or just prison gossip.
Right.
They tracked down the car
Okay.
that JD and BJ were using at the time.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, it was a sedan.
Okay.
Not an SUV as the initial witness near the crime scene had described.
So another potential mismatch.
Yeah,
But they still looked into it, right?
absolutely. They examined the car thoroughly, but found no trace of Lonnie.
Okay.
The new owner of the car had no connection to the case and willingly cooperated with the investigation.
Okay.
This led detectives to doubt the inmate's story even further.
What about JD and BJ?
Yeah.
Were they ever questioned?
Yes. JB was interviewed
Okay.
and vehemently denied any involvement in Lonnie's death. He claimed that he barely knew BJ
Okay.
and would never help him dispose of a body.
Okay.
But here's the problem.
What's that?
The police were never able to locate BJ. To corroborate JD's statement or to pursue him as a suspect,
Okay.
he seemed to have vanished.
It's like chasing ghosts.
It is.
Every time they got close to a lead,
Yeah,
it just disappeared.
exactly. Officially, the case remains unsolved to this day.
Wow.
The murder weapon was never found,
Mm.
and Lonnie's wallet and ID are still missing.
Okay.
The lack of cooperation from potential witnesses, coupled with the passage of time, makes solving this case increasingly difficult,
Right.
but not impossible.
There's always hope, right?
Yeah.
Technology has advanced so much since 2001.
It has.
What about things like DNA testing? Could that offer new leads? That's where Detective Shannon Wilde enters the picture.
Okay.
She took over Lonnie's case in 2022,
Uh-huh.
and she's determined to use every tool at her disposal to finally bring justice for Lonnie.
Well, that's good.
Detective Wilde's commitment to this case is truly remarkable.
Yeah.
She's been working tirelessly to re-examine all the evidence, hoping that advancements in DNA technology might reveal new clues.
Yeah.
She's also been reaching out to the community,
Okay.
urging anyone with even the slightest bit of information to come forward.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It's inspiring to see someone so dedicated to a case that's gone cold for so many years.
It is.
You know, she's giving Lonnie a voice that she no longer has.
She is. Yeah.
Detective Wilde believes that even the smallest detail, something that might have seemed inconsequential at the time,
Yeah.
could be the key to solving this mystery.
Yeah. That's often the case, right?
She's urging anyone who knew Lonnie or who might have been in those areas in the early morning hours of August 26, 2001,
Yeah.
to contact her.
It's worth a shot, right?
It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in seeking justice.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes just speaking up can make all the difference.
Yeah, you never know, right?
But Lonnie's case also highlights a much larger, much more troubling issue, doesn't it?
It does. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Lonnie's story tragically underscores the vulnerability of transgender individuals, particularly transgender women of color, to violence and hate crimes. In 2023 alone, the majority of transgender and gender nonconforming homicide victims were people of color.
It's a sobering statistic that demands attention and action.
Yeah, I agree.
It's heartbreaking to think that Lonnie's story is not an isolated incident.
Right.
And sadly, even in death, many victims like Lonnie continue to be misgendered or dead-named by the media or authorities.
Yeah, that's a shame.
That's why responsible media coverage is so crucial. It's about respect, dignity, and accuracy.
Yeah.
Using a person's correct name and pronouns isn't just about being politically correct.
Right.
It's about honoring their identity and acknowledging the systemic biases that contribute to their vulnerability.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And Lonnie's murder actually had a significant impact on advocacy efforts in Oregon, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
Her case became a catalyst for change, prompting organizations like Basic Rights Oregon to push for legislation protecting transgender individuals from discrimination based on gender identity. It's a testament to the power of one person's story to spark meaningful change.
It's a bittersweet legacy, but an important one.
It is.
Lonnie's case may be unsolved, but her story continues to inspire the fight for equality and justice for the LGBTQ+ community.
Well said.
And that fight continues today.
Yeah.
Organizations like Basic Rights Oregon and the Trans Journalists Association are doing incredible work to advocate for the LGBTQ+ community
I agree.
and ensure their stories are told accurately and respectfully. We'll be sure to include links to those organizations in the show notes for anyone who wants to learn more or get involved.
Good idea.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Lonnie's case, we're left with so many unanswered questions. Who killed Lonnie?
Right.
What was the motive?
Yeah.
And why have so many people remained silent?
It's a mystery.
But even with all the uncertainty, there's still a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, I agree.
Hope that Detective Wilde's efforts will one day lead to answers, that justice will prevail, and that Lonnie's memory will live on.
Well, I hope so too.
If you have any information about Lonnie Kayoku's case, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem, please contact Detective Shannon Wilde at the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, please.
Your call could be the key to finally unlocking this enduring mystery and bringing a sense of closure to a case that has haunted a community for far too long.
I hope someone calls.
And if this deep dive has resonated with you, if it sparked your interest in other captivating stories and unsolved mysteries, be sure to subscribe to our podcast.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We'll continue to bring you in-depth explorations of the cases that challenge us, intrigue us, and remind us that the pursuit of truth and justice must never fade.
Very important.
No matter how much time has passed.
Yeah, you're right.